Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and its market cycle, and look at Bitcoin versus the broader markets. So the first chart that I'm going to take a look at is actually the total market cap chart versus the QQQ. And the reason that I like looking at this chart is because, again, I view cryptocurrency as a tech asset, and since the QQQ obviously kind of encompasses the broader tech market, I like to look at the relative strength of crypto versus the QQQ. But, essentially this is our market cycle chart. If you've watched my channel at all, or if you've watched really hardly any channels, at some point you've probably seen this chart before. So, meaning this chart here. I've never seen anybody else. I'm sure they're out there. Admittedly, I don't watch a lot of YouTube content or pay attention to what other people are doing, but I've never seen anybody else look at this specific charts as far as total market cap versus QQQ. So this probably is something that's kind of niched a little bit, something that maybe I do and maybe a few other people, I don't know. But essentially, what we have here, in my opinion, is we have a typical market cycle, right? We had the euphoria phase back in November 2021, versus QQQ. It was actually in the summer of 2021. And then November was actually our complacency phase here. We had anxiety, denial, panic, anger, depression. And I believe that this is likely the disbelief phase. Now I haven't changed anything on this chart. This is, something that I drew up, 4, 5, 6 months ago. And so far it's doing exactly what I had anticipated back then, which is acting like disbelief. You come up, we essentially tested this downtrend, right? This downward trend line here. We got a rejection off of it. Like in my last video I talked about, that's totally normal. It's not anything to panic about. You have supply sitting there. You start to have that battle fought between supply and demand. Eventually one will win. The market will go that way. So to have a pullback off of, a supply zone or a resistance line, completely normal for the course. We just saw it on Bitcoin. We're kind of pulled back around the $70,000 mark, pulled back some, and then exploded through that level. So pull back right to demand, right? Or if you prefer, support. All right. I believe, looking at this chart, that it's likely that this pullback was this pullback after disbelief, right? Where people are thinking it's a sucker's rally. If that's the case, essentially that would be kind of this part of the chart, the magnet on or something. Yes. This part of the chart. Oh, goodness. TradingView, what are you doing? Like wanting to show my background through the picture and everything else. It's just awful here. Too many crickets. So, coming down here and then come in this area. And if that's the case, it's very possible that we're just now starting this phase here, which would take us into hope, have a little consolidation and then start that euphoric parabolic phase of the market, which is, if you're trading in or if you're, properly positioned in it, can be a really, really big deal. So let's shrink this back down because everybody knows what that looks like now. Put it off to the side a bit. And again, just pretty standard stuff. We had a trend line on the bottom. We had a trend line on top. It's basically a falling wedge. Falling wedges are actually bullish in nature. Essentially, they act like flags. So you go up, you'll have a wedge pattern. And then the idea is you're supposed to break out equal to this leg. So for example, in this case, would look something, the magnet back on, something like that, which would put this up around this area. Now, you're looking at this going 10 billion. What's that mean? Again, it's not that you can trade this directly. It just kind of gives you an idea of how strong it is versus the tech market. Okay. So let me kind of show you this. If I can get these lines all charts. So if we measure that move, that means that essentially, if that comes to pass, it's about 100% gain versus the QQQ. So that could happen in a few different ways. One thing that could happen is the QQQ could go up and, cryptocurrency could explode even faster, even higher, which does happen, right? It's happened in the past. The other thing that can happen is the QQQ can just kind of go sideways and Bitcoin and crypto can move up while the QQQ stays flat. And in a less likely scenario, the QQQ, if I can talk, will actually fall, but Bitcoin will fall slower or even possibly rise while the QQQ is falling. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to double versus US dollars. It means that it's positioned or poised to double versus QQQ. And again, that's total market cap. So that's Bitcoin and all the altcoins together. So this is a bullish looking chart. Again, as I stress in every video, no guarantees. It's like the weather. Everything can look a certain way, and then, instead of being rainy that day, it's snowing. Or instead of, snowing like the weather says, it's a beautiful sunny day with blue skies. We just do the best we can with the information we have at the current time. Here's a weekly chart of Bitcoin. So this was our flagpole. This was our flag through here. And again, we came up to the top of it. We pulled back a little bit, and now we're exploding through the top. And like I mentioned in that last video, it had to get through not just that flag pattern, but it also needed to get through that all-time high. And that's why it pulled back. If you look at just kissed it, pulled back some because there's a little bit of extra supply there. And now the demand is picking up. Now that demand, I'm not going to go down the political rabbit hole. Like I've said last time, I don't like politics. I don't get into politics. I think it's a waste of mental energy. I think people should be knowledgeable and cast their vote, and what happens after that happens. So we have to be careful getting too enthusiastic, because some of this pump is probably a result of this, which the QQQ has just been popping the last few days, because I think there was a massive sigh of relief. Again, not being political, just being analytical. I think there was a massive sigh of relief that Trump was reelected versus another term under Harris. And again, not political, but I think a lot of people viewed Harris as, hey, this is just an extension of Biden, and Biden and his administration policy the last 4 years. The country has record inflation, or high inflation, maybe not record inflation, but very high inflation. Cost of living is outrageous, blah, 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 blah. I am very much an independent. I think clearly. I don't listen to the media. And I don't buy into this, it's all Biden's fault or it's all Trump's fault. But I think a lot of people do buy into those narratives. And I think a lot of people do place the blame solely on the Biden administration. And I think the fact that they lost the election, I think a lot of people are very, very stoked about that. And like, okay, let's, the stock market's going to soar. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe, maybe not. But we have to be careful, because this could be just that overreaction to the news. Where, pumps up because everybody's excited, and then next week, all that excitement kind of fades away and the market starts, pulling back, or even worse, having a correction. So, obviously we always want to be cautious, but at the same time, it looks pretty good right now. This was definitely an easy couple of days to trade for those people that were trading it, whether you were trading stocks or trading crypto, because if you look at this day on November 6th, it gapped right over that level, which is always a good indication that the market is strong. And it's went up a few days since then. Now, might be getting a little bit of exhaustion here, though. We'll see. But the point being, I don't want to get too deep down the trading hole, because again, I find that most people kind of disconnect from trading content and are really just interested in crypto. And same thing with stocks. Most people just don't care about the stock market, which is a mistake. But, you can't sell salad to people in line to buy a fat burger. And I don't mean disrespect by that. I just mean you got to meet people where they're at. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Like this pop, maybe it's legit. Maybe it's just a reaction because the stock market is doing so well. If we do look at volume on it, we did get a pretty good bump in volume. So, remember me saying last time when it tried to break out, like we want to see that volume increasing. Well, we did. We saw, a decent spike the last week, but we also see another spike this week. So that's good. If we see another spike next week, that would be even more promising, and kind of supports the idea that this is an impulsive move, meaning the start of the next leg versus an exhaustive move where it's just kind of, bearish capitulating kind of thing. So overall, I think Bitcoin looks pretty good. I think the, chart patterns are pointing mainly bullish. We just have to, always keep our options open and make sure that we're not getting, squirrely with our risk management, because we don't know. And I say we, again, I always want to be very clear. I'm not a big crypto guy anymore. I own a very, very, very small amount of cryptocurrency, less than 1 Bitcoin total. So, none of this is going to be life-changing for me, but I do like kind of keeping an eye on it, and it is kind of interesting to me. And I will start probably maybe doing a little bit better job in the evenings if I've got extra time that I just want to spend on charts. Right now I'm playing a lot of video games, but if I want to play less video games, I may start looking at some altcoins and stuff, because during these cycles, the altcoins often represent bigger opportunities than Bitcoin. You'll have Bitcoin that goes up like a couple 100%. Then you have altcoins that go up, 1,000% or, 5,000%. More in the case of like a BNB, BNB went from under $1 to over $600 per coin or token. So, the one thing with alts, though, is you got to be very careful with alts, not to fall in love with them. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking altcoins are like Bitcoin, where, hey, I can hold my Bitcoin forever. Eventually it goes up. That's also not necessarily true. But with altcoins, it's especially unsafe to do that. Most altcoins go through cycles where they pop, and then just dump 80, 90, 99%. I learned that the hard way with, some of my favorites back in the day, like OMG was up thousands of percent, and now it's down like 99.9. You had like EOS at one point was going to be, $1,000 a coin or token. I think it's like 30 or 40 cents. You had Ripple that, went from, I bought it at 12 or 16 cents the first time, and it went to $3, and it's, woo, it's going to the moon. And then it fell down to like 10 cents again. I don't know where it's at now. In fact, let's look real quick. Where is Ripple? Is Ripple even tradable anymore? Yeah. 55 cents. So it's not bad, right? But yeah, depends on when you bought it, I guess. So, just realize, like with altcoins, like I know today, just as an example, and this is in no way a trade call, but I know today ADA popped, right? And if you look at ADA, we don't know what's going to happen on ADA. But if we looked at previous cycles, it's really exciting, because ADA was at one point like $1 or something, like in 2017, 2018. It fell down to like, I think it was 3 cents at one point. Yeah, look at this. So it was like $1.30 in 2017. I remember a friend of mine like telling me, I got to buy this at $1. And I was like, I don't know, thanks. And he thought I was nuts. And then it fell down to like 3 cents. Look at this, 2.7 cents. I think he abandoned it. I don't know for sure, but he never was talking about it again. But, if you were paying attention out here and you got in around 2.7 or 3 cents, in that 2021 bull run, it actually went to $3. That's a 100x return. Okay, that would have been the equivalent of Bitcoin going from 4,000 to 400,000. Okay, or thereabout. I actually would have had to go a little higher than that. So these altcoins are really interesting. Here it had another huge drop. Again, that's why you don't want to fall in love with them. But if it does have another pop, another big run, maybe it goes from 30 cents to back to $1, like in 2017. Maybe it goes back to its 2021 highs, around $3. Maybe it goes to $10. Maybe it goes to $0. We don't know, but I do like the altcoins for opportunities. I think they're a little bit more lucrative if you get good at swing trading them. And even if you're somebody that just likes Bitcoin, you got to remember you can always trade those versus Bitcoin. You just got to be really careful and make sure you're actually trading and not trying to hodl versus Bitcoin, because most alt trades are going to look like this, right? Versus Bitcoin, most altcoins over time just go down, down, down. There are a few exceptions. Ethereum is one of them that hasn't been exactly like that. I think this weird fluke back here, but it hasn't been great either, right? Look at it going down, down, down. Now that being said, it could be that this was this disbelief, and maybe it's getting ready to pop. For those of you that have been watching a while, you'll remember I was actually really bullish on Ethereum back in 2020. I said if I had to put my money in one coin and one coin only, it would be Ethereum. And that was a great call, right? This is versus Bitcoin. So in 2020, if you were, getting in the market, like on the crash, for example, let's say you put one Bitcoin into Ethereum in March of 2020, that would have been around this area. It would have been worth like almost 4 Bitcoin by the time the cycle topped. So, yeah. But anyway, the video is getting a little bit long-winded and starting to ramble a little bit and get off point. Just the main thing is right now the market still looks pretty bullish. Just be careful. Don't base too many things off of this week, because the election is a bit of a fundamental event, and it can cause some anomalies in the market. But overall, looks good so far. We'll see. It's always interesting. In hindsight, we'll look back and be like, it was so obvious, it was so obvious that flag was going to hit 100K, like you said. Or we'll look back and say, it was so obvious, that was a bull trap, but it was going to go down. Like, it's always obvious 6 months from now. We'll see. All that being said, please remember I'm some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. Obviously, nothing in this video is financial advice. You should always go out and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed and hopefully knowledgeable financial advisor before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, precious metals, Forex, I don't know if I said that, or any other tradable assets. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, as always, please remember to trade safe.